Hello, everybody. Welcome to the... what are we calling this? Trek Talk.
Yeah, the Trek Talk, I guess.
Mr. Trek Talk. I hope your warp cores are primed, because my Nacelle is tingling for some Trek.
Oh,
I just
good.
thought about it the last 2 seconds.
I'm already ready to press stop. Yeah, welcome back, everyone. This is our new, separate Trek Talk.
So expect spoilers in this. We are going to talk spoilers about Star Trek. So what we're going to do, I have finally caught up with Strange New Worlds. So we've got all of that to talk about. I'm behind on Lower Decks. I've only seen the first 2 episodes still. I haven't watched the other 2 yet.
Okay.
So there won't be any Lower Decks today. We're going to talk about, but we're not going to talk about the entirety of Strange New Worlds because I've got a few hot takes about it. And they're relevant to the last few episodes. I want to talk about the last 3 or 4 episodes of Strange New Worlds. Talk about that. And also a recurring theme to this, so we always have something to talk about, was we're going to go through basically all of them, aren't we? All of the Star Treks. And we're going to pick an episode. Probably, I think you said we're going to do the first episode.
I was going to say, should we do it in order? So what we'll do, each week we'll be looking at a specific episode of possibly the original series, maybe TNG, maybe Deep Space Nine, maybe Voyager, maybe Enterprise. In fact, what we could do it by release date. So we could do TOS obviously came first, then the animated series, then TNG, then Voyager, then Deep Space Nine, then Enterprise, then Discovery.
I guess it would have been
then
Discovery.
Lower Decks, then Strange New Worlds. And what we'll do is we'll match them up as we go. So 1 week we'll look at episode 1 of that first series, then the next, let's say, I think that's 9 series there. The next 9 episodes will be looking at episode 1 of all the series. And then we'll do episode 2 of all the series. Unless there's new Trek to talk about, where we'll have a whole section where we just discuss new Trek for that beginning bit.
I quite like the idea as well of maybe every now and again picking a particular episode from any of the seasons that we are notable, that we really like.
Well, either we do that, because if we do kind of the 9 series 1 episode at a time, that's quite a lot to undertake, and there's no guarantee that they're all going to be streaming at any point, is it? Because they keep changing the licensing around. I know Paramount has the majority of them, but so does Netflix. So maybe we'll stick with that then. Maybe we'll just choose every episode, a notable episode we both go away and rewatch.
Either way, we haven't got one for this week.
No. This is just new Trek.
We'll say what it is. I think of I'll pick the first one because I know already. I want everyone to watch my favourite Voyager episode. I have to find out the number of it.
Sex newts.
The one where they turn into newts and have sex. So over the course of this, I'll find out what it is. But what? And I think I'll tell it now, and then if you want to join in, everyone can listen to it and be ready for the next episode and have seen it and be able to
join in on the enjoyment.
In their enjoyment and in their heads.
Or whether or not they hated the episode and hear what we think about it.
So, right, Strange New Worlds. I just want to say, specifically, if ever there was a ship that needed a counsellor, it's their fucking ship. There's 3 characters that are quite clearly suffering from PTSD.
So what, you'd want Dr. Megalamo on there, or Deanna Troi?
The 2 doctors and the pilot quite clearly have got PTSD.
Right, so M'Bunga is massively, massively PTSD from the Klingon War.
Yeah.
Nurse Chapel, PTSD from the Klingon War. The pilot...
she has it from the Klingon War too.
Yeah, from the Klingon War.
Yeah. They're just the 3 that I can think of the top of my head. They're seriously being let down by the Federation to not have that access to that. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, no, but hang on a moment. So, yeah, Ortegas, that's the name I can remember. What about then Lan Noonien Singh? Traumatic childhood of being part of the genetically recreated race of the Singh clan. So she spent her life being an outcast. She needs counselling.
Yeah, true.
Or First Officer Ona, who was in jail a few weeks ago
Yeah.
could probably do with some counselling. Okay, yeah. Uhura probably needs counselling, seeing she watched Hemel kill himself.
Yeah.
Reasonable reason why he did it, but still, yeah, they really could do with a counsellor, couldn't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought about that, and it's funny that Voyager didn't have a counsellor.
No, they didn't.
Deep Space Nine didn't have.
They treated Neelix and the girl.
I'm sorry.
They weren't the counsellor, but they treated them that way. They'd all go into the mess and talk to them.
Kez, I can kind of understand and would say, you know what? I'm going to accept you as a counsellor. If Neelix tried to counsel me, no, stab him. That would be good counselling. Get your anger out. Give him a stab. Threshold is the episode of Star Trek Voyager we would like you all to watch.
Voyager Season 2, Episode 15, Threshold. Season 2, Episode 15. That's what we all have to watch
before the next Star
one.
Trek
So you've got
episode.
a fortnight, basically.
Fine, okay. But yeah, you're right. They are all in drastic needs of counselling on the Enterprise.
Yeah. Now, this is what links into my could possibly be a hot take about Nurse Chapel. And this is where I think it's a bit spoilery in that we definitely can talk about it. So it's the episode where the Klingon guy comes, episode 8 or 9.
So yeah, that is episode 8, Under the Cloak of War.
Okay, and then the now 9's a singing one, so it all makes sense, right? So she's clearly going through something, and her way of dealing with it, her PTSD, is actually she's a bit of a cunt. Sorry to use that language, to Spock, who we know isn't very understanding about the human feelings in the same way, doesn't know how to quite manage them in the same way. But he is actually really trying in this episode, episode 8, to help her. And rather than her actually just saying, please don't do it in that way, I'm going to get through this on my own, she's actually quite horrible to him.
So I agree with what you're saying, but at the same time, I would say what she's trying to do as well is protect him, because she knows she's going to be going off. She went for the Vulcan Science Academy. She got turned down for it. She's applied for another disappearing thing to go off and do. I can't remember what it was now, but she's off to another science side of things to go and do a time away with them instead. And I think all she's trying to do really is say, look, this probably isn't going to work.
But she never says any of that.
No, she's
expecting somebody who doesn't work in those nuances of emotions in the same way as a human does to understand that. And she's entered a relationship with someone knowing that they don't understand that. And she treats him like he's going to understand it. She basically is horrible to him. She's actually horrible to him in that episode. She's not nice to him. And then in the next episode, when all the singing thing and everyone's really emotional, Spock has his own song about not understanding what's happening with him.
Yeah.
She essentially, basically, it's like dumping him by text. She's told everybody that she's got this thing and she's leaving. And she hasn't told him. She's even gone to a bar to have drinks with her friends and not told Spock yet. And then Spock comes in, and then she does her music. You're not going to be able to turn me on this. I think she's an arsehole.
No. I'm not going to try and turn you on it. I'm just going to say, full stop, that the relationship is obviously going to be incredibly difficult.
It's complicated.
But go back one episode. So, not the Under the Cloak of War. Go back to Series 2, Episode 7, Those Old Scientists. So, for me, bloody brilliant episode.
Yeah.
The crossover with Lower Decks, done absolutely beautifully. I was really worried that the crossover of animation into live action wasn't going to work, and it did.
Yeah.
Jack Quaid, he was Boimler.
Yeah.
Not just everything.
Yeah.
Was just absolutely perfect. But what about the bit? And this is the only reason I'm not going to sway you on it. I know that. He causes the problems, though. He is the one that potentially has turned her into the arsehole. So Pike is living every day knowing what is going to happen.
Right.
And you get the whole joke about the beepy chair thing in there. Chapel doesn't know anything about her future. Boimler drops it that Spock isn't with Chapel in the future. His future, his history of Spock, he knows that Chapel's not with her. And you see in her face, and the whole point was that, oh. So almost in her brain then, she now knows this isn't going to go anywhere. The future's already set, and it's not going to go anywhere.
It was the head of a snake eating the head eating the tail of the snake.
Exactly. So how would you get? It doesn't excuse being an arsehole. It doesn't excuse that at all. But also, if they had a counsellor on board, that would actually help. So,
one more point for counsellors.
I'm in love with someone that I know it's not going to go anywhere. Now, is it not going to go anywhere because I'm going to die soon? Is it not going to go anywhere because Spock's going to get back with his wife? Is it not going to go anywhere because I'm going to piss off and be an absolute bitch? So how do you cope with that?
I have a caveat to this.
Oh, God. Go on then. Yeah.
Go back another episode. The Union Sing, maybe it was the episode before that, where she goes back in time, but it's actually an alternate reality she goes back in time to. Who's to say, from Nurse Chapel's point of view, that Boimler hasn't come from a different universe's future?
That's very true, yeah. So it could have been...
That the split hasn't happened yet. So all the paths are the same, but there is a split at some point because we know that there's an infinite number of potential universes according to their own
You're
logic.
talking about episode 3, by the way, when she ends up back in Canada, and really well done episode as well. They didn't go over the top with the whole time travel thing. They didn't go over the top trying to make it look futuristic. They kind of made it
did really
work really nicely. Well, look, I'm not going to change your mind on it. I understand that. And I agree, she was an absolute bitch in that episode and the next episode.
Then,
whatever the reason being, there is a better way to have dealt with it.
Conversation with a counsellor, with Spock.
Yeah.
That's what we need. She could have just gone to Spock and gone, look, future man has just told me blah, 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 blah. And he would have probably said the same thing to her that he said to Pike. He said something to Pike about, living for
now.
Yeah. And, who knows about the future's actually set. You don't know. What's the point? I think that was season 1, because we're going through season 1 again.
Yeah, it would have been
because when he says, it might be in episode 1 or episode 2 when he's like, I've got maybe 10 years or something left.
No, I thought it was isn't it the end episode of series 1 where they come across the Romulans for the first time, and Spock's basically saying to him, something's not right, Captain. And
he hasn't told him what it is.
Yeah.
But until that point. But in this, I think it is episode 1 or 2.
Oh, okay.
And he's making tea. He always makes tea, doesn't he? He's doing something like that. Yeah. So she does kind of then put it back a little bit in the last episode, but only because at first I was like, well, it's because Spock saves her life, so she can about that. Well, actually, she kind of saved him first. He was there doing something, and then she shot the Gorn, which was effing brilliant.
We're talking about the last episode at the moment of series 2.
I'm moving all around the place.
I'm going to come to that in a minute when we get to that. But right. I agree. Counsellors are needed. Chapel's a bitch at this point.
Currently, think personality-wise, she's lowered in my estimations.
Correct. Enter authorization code.
So those old scientists, the Lower Decks crossover, first of all, what were your thoughts on that? So
I think it's really good, yeah.
I love the fact that at the very end, it's Strange New Worlds, but in Lower Deck animation.
Yes.
Something feel a bit weird.
Yes. I remember I spoke to you many episodes ago now, and I was like, how are they going to do the whole thing about one being a cartoon and one not?
Yeah.
Are they at any point going to mention that? And the only mention about it is when he comes in and he goes, "Why you look so real?"
And
you're really realistic, or whatever something.
The intro done in Strange New Worlds mixed with Lower Decks with the alien sucking on the
thing. Oh, it was really clever, wasn't it? I was really impressed with it.
Brilliant, absolutely
they just
brilliant.
Got all of the little things, and I think as well, if you weren't someone that watched Lower Decks, I think that would have made you watch Lower Decks, because now Miranda is actually interested in watching a bit.
Excellent.
And she had no interest before. Whenever I say it's a cartoon, she's like, I'm not interested in that.
Now, talking about the whole Chapel bit when Boimler tells her basically Spock isn't with you in the future.
Yeah.
Is possibly the funniest bit in there when he's absolutely panicking. Is I think I've broken Spock.
Yeah, yeah.
It just had me laughing, going, I love the fact he's really worried about that.
And then when she comes in, she breaks every rule going. It's like she says about the rules, but she does not follow a single one. She tells everyone everything. Like,
Oh, yeah, I love it. She's just like, yeah, party atmosphere, right? Let's go party.
And she like shows them a drink that hasn't even been invented yet. You know, just brilliant stuff.
It was an absolutely cracking episode. And that's what I kind of like about Strange New Worlds. They managed to have in their series a light episode, which brightens everything up before going back into what sometimes some dark and not depressing, distressing kind of episodes, I guess. Like you say, with all of the whole Umbanga and Chapel Klingon war trauma.
Yeah.
There's a lot of darkness in there that could just make the show miserable. So the fact that they can throw in a light episode like this and have fun, and then we'll come on to Subspace Rhapsody in a bit, just shows you the quality of the writing and that they know where they want to go.
Absolutely.
And I think they're doing just brilliantly.
The difference between this season and last season, because I'm rewatching season 1, they really were... We spoke about this when we originally spoke about it, how I liked how every episode was still a Star Trek thing, and then they had the continued story arc going through of the stuff that was happening to Pike. They've really pushed that aside.
Yes.
And just embraced episodic Star Trek. And that was really the right move, because I was just worried, because by having that stuff with Pike there just means this isn't going to last very long, because they're just pushing for that story, and that's going to end
That's one of the reasons I didn't like Discovery.
Yeah.
Every episode of TNG on the most part, every episode of TOS on the most part. Same with Voyager to an extent, but that's probably why I don't like Voyager and Deep Space Nine as much as the others, is because the others, it's episodic. I can go onto Netflix or Paramount, I can choose TNG and I'll watch that one today, and I can watch it without any issues, without having to worry about what happened in the previous episode or what's going on in that series. Whereas Discovery, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, you've got that ongoing backstory that's always there. Now, Voyager's not so much, actually. The backstory of them getting home is always going to be there, because that is the ultimate idea of the series.
That's the point of it, yeah.
A lot of the episodes are very episodic. I think my only issue with Voyager was it got a bit repetitive. Oh, every other episode, the same bad guys turn up over every season. I know the Borg turned up a lot of it, and actually I'm not that upset with that, but
I think they had the most faulty holodeck in any of the spaceships.
Exactly. And then Deep Space Nine is basically the constant, is Cisco a god, and the Dominion War, but each to their own, but episodic for me works better.
Yep.
I think I'm just trying to say that there. Okay. Under the Cloak of War. Now, I'm ashamed to say this. I watched through all of it and managed to miss this episode until last week when I watched it.
Well, you skipped it.
Yeah, I don't know how I did it. I went straight from Those Old Scientists to Subspace Rhapsody.
Oh.
It was only when I was going through checking it, I spotted and thought, whoa, shit, well, I better watch that before we chat.
This is the Klingon...
And I'm really glad I did, because it's a really good episode.
The Klingon ambassador.
It's the Klingon ambassador, who's known as the Butcher of Jagal.
I always think in my head Butcher of Blaviken because of The Witcher. So in my head, I might
I think it was Jagal, wasn't it?
I think it was, yeah.
Something like that, anyway.
So if I say it wrong, that's
who
why.
killed his own men, but has turned into an ambassador trying to bring peace between the Federation.
So they say he killed him.
Well, exactly. And then it just turns out that Umbunga and his magic green goo that he injects into himself.
Which, as we spoke before, where's this goo come from? It's all explained here.
Exactly. It's a really good story progression for those characters, and also gives us that depth into the Klingon War that you keep hearing about.
And I'd like to say, it was really good. One of my notes, I haven't got my notes up. One of the really good things about this episode is you see a side of Star Trek that you don't see. You don't see the Federation having guerrilla warfare on the ground. This was very Star Wars. Do you know, this was like watching the Clone Wars.
This is very, very Empire versus...
Yeah. This was seeing people in a war getting killed. Was happening here. You know, and they save that guy's life only for him to go out and then get completely blown to smithereens.
Well, and that horribly brutal moment in the episode where Umbanga shows Chapel how to store someone in the pattern buffer, and then at the very end, him just pressing the reboot button.
Yeah,
because
they
she
have
couldn't.
they have to clear the buffer, and
To
because
get the
they need to
transporter
use
working
it
again.
and she can't do it, so he just walks up and just turns it off.
And it just the idea of being war is horrible and you can't save everyone, and she had come to try and save everyone.
Yeah.
It's traumatic.
And it shows how good his character is too, that it's just another thing he's willing to take responsibility for, so she doesn't have to. You know, and the whole thing about, as is the reveal at the end of who the butcher is, you know, it's him taking the responsibility again.
Yeah.
And taking all of that guilt and stuff on himself.
And it's interesting as well to come across this Klingon that they've given guilt to, basically. He's doing this because he was unable to do it in real life. He was unable to control his troops. He was unable to stop the barbarism that was going on. Instead, Mbunga did it, but he lived with the status that he gained through what he allegedly did, knowing he hadn't done that. And it actually that plays really nicely alongside. There's an episode in Deep Space Nine which I think I will actually make us watch after we've done that Voyager episode, and
we'll take it in turns.
Yeah, we'll take it. And it's basically an episode where a Cardassian arrives on the station, and Kira recognizes him as, funny enough, he's the butcher as well. Butcher of whatever. And he was a general that put many of them to death. And the whole point is, it's Nazis.
Yeah.
He is a guilty Nazi. He didn't want to do what he did, and he basically hopes someone will kill him. Instead, Kira forgives him.
Yeah.
And then he still gets killed by someone who doesn't fully understand what's going on. So, yeah. It's a really powerful episode, and I think that's kind of what we're getting in this episode is the guilt of not doing what someone has bigged you up to having done, and then trying to fix everything that your race has done.
It's tough because clearly it's a really difficult one to really know how you stand with it morally as well, because you know that Klingon has done some terrible things. Now, he didn't do the killing of all of his own men, but he did do a lot of other killing.
Yes.
And he is trying to do good, at least that's what it appears to be, and I don't think at any point is there any kind of thing that actually there's no twist that he isn't doing that, but he admits, what's the guy, Mbenga? I can't...
Dr. Mbunga.
I get his name wrong all the time, I apologise. He, you know, he comes clean to him saying, look, because he wants him to help him, do you think he remembers that it's that guy?
Well, no, because
it's a bit of a surprise to him.
I don't think he knows who did it.
Yeah.
But he's basically attached himself to Mbenga because he sees him as this raw...
I think he knew his name. I think
possibly.
Because of implied he knew him.
Yeah. But...
Yeah, so, you know, eventually Omega comes clean to say, in a long-winded way, that actually... He was the butcher,
me.
And he was coming there to get him.
Yes.
He killed all of the Klingons single-handedly with his green goo, and just missed on getting him. Because I thought that it was going to be, because he's going around in a cane, that Klingon. I was thinking that he does know. Before that reveal, I thought he knows something about Mbenga, and actually he's the reason he's limping around.
Yeah.
And that's what I thought, but that doesn't happen. He's just an old Klingon dude. You know. And then you think that there's going to be... Because he wants Mbenga to join him and try and use his popularity in the Federation to come together to boost the joining of the Klingon Empire and the Federation.
Yeah.
When actually Mbenga's just like, no, and kills him.
Yeah.
And everyone goes along with... Like, Nurse Chapel, like, they basically...
Everyone
They
knows.
proper go in and be like, you know, make it... And go along with the story, and there's like an interview of Nurse Chapel and him, and then even Pike comes. Like Pike wants to get the truth, but they will not say even to him.
Exactly.
But he knows. You can just tell.
Just talking about the Klingons for a moment. Now, I didn't like Discovery's Klingons. I thought they were well over the top on the design.
Yeah.
I'm glad that we're back to kind of what I grew up with as a Klingon, but they've still made it look better than it was. It's so much they look so much better than the TNG Klingons, and a million
They've
times
just
better.
upgraded it a bit.
Yeah, the makeup's got better.
Yeah.
It's full.
That's what it is. Yeah.
There's an Alexi Sale, if you remember him as a comedian. He had a TV series of clip show sort of thing.
Yeah.
And there's an episode where they're ripping the piss out of Star Trek, and he's Picard.
Oh, yeah.
And they're laughing at Worf, and they give him a mirror. It's like, oh, come on! It looks like I've stuck my head in a bucket with shit. It didn't, especially the first series. Worf did not look good.
Yeah.
It got better, but this, I think I prefer the look of this because it's been done that much more with newer products and better money and so on.
He looked like a wrinkly cone head.
Yes.
Didn't he?
At points he did.
It was too tall. The head thing was too tall.
Now, knowing what the Klingons are like, though, and again, the original series films, the Klingons are brilliant because you get that real idea, and Lower Decks capture them as well.
Yeah.
They're boisterous, they laugh, they have comradeship.
Lower Decks does a really good way of...
You'd expect them to be a specific way, and in this episode, you get that from him. He's trying to be peaceful, but also you get that whole bravado you expect of the Klingons.
Yes.
And then it just came to me, and I don't know why I thought this. No idea where it came from. And I would genuinely love to see Lenny Henry as a Klingon.
Yeah, well, he's a hobbit at the moment, isn't he?
Is he?
You haven't watched any of the Lord of the Rings series, have you?
No.
He's a hobbit, yeah.
No way.
Yeah, he does it really well.
But I would love to see him as a Klingon because I think, you know what, he would be able to kind of portray that humour, but I can also imagine him being able to be very dark and angry.
He's a very good actor.
Well, it's like Matt Smith in Doctor Who, modern Doctor Who.
Yep.
I looked at him and thought, there is no way you're going to be able to convey anything but I'm super happy, Doctor. But he had a very wicked dark side to him. And when he was angry in that Doctor Who series, okay, not quite as terrifying as David Tennant comes across as when you cross the Doctor and he's angry. But Matt Smith could do it as well. And I kind of see Lenny Henry being that sort of person as well.
Have you not seen House of Dragon?
No.
Where Matt Smith is one of the main characters and plays a fucking evil bastard.
After kind of seeing him in Doctor Who, I've seen a fair few things with him in now, and he's a tremendous actor.
He's a fantastic actor. They get really good actors to play Doctor Who. Eccleston, fantastic Shakespearean actor. Tennant, fantastic actor. Massive factor. I can't remember her name. She's been in loads of stuff. She's absolutely brilliant. What's her name again?
Oh God, it's gone.
It's so bad because I haven't watched any of them. That's the thing.
Yeah,
but I know she's a very good actor, and I think the new guy who's in it too is supposedly, I've not actually seen him in anything, but he's supposed to be quite good too.
Yeah, I can believe that as well. Just seeing the couple of bits of the clips, he's going to be brilliant. He's going to fit the role perfectly.
So what was the point we're making about you? Well, you wanted to see Lenny Henry as a
I think
Klingon,
Lenny Henry would make an amazing Klingon if he was given the chance.
Absolutely.
Jodie Whittaker, that's the one you're thinking of.
That's it. Sorry,
I couldn't think of what else she's been in other than Doctor Who, so I went
Jodie.
for Broadchurch, which she is amazing
in.
Broadchurch,
there you go.
Okay, so yeah. I missed that episode, and I'm really glad I went back and rewatched it rather than just going.
What a hard one to miss. It's one of the best ones.
It is one of the best ones of the series. Exclude Subspace Rhapsody and Those Old Scientists, because those are both very different episodes that you wouldn't normally get in any Star Trek series. But they work. They belong where they belong. Yeah. They are absolutely fantastic pieces of work.
Yeah.
But as good as they are, I can't give them the trophy to say that's an amazing episode for this series. That's the episode you should go and watch. And I would say Under the Cloak of War is one of the ones I would say maybe that's the one on this series. If you wanted to see if you were going to get into it, see this one.
I think you're right. If you want to actually choose a Star Trek episode, then that's the one to watch. As I said on Twitter, though, I think Subspace Rhapsody is one of my favourite, if not favourite, Star Trek episodes of all time.
No, absolutely. Subspace Rhapsody. Let's bring it on then.
All systems stable. 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 But why are we singing?
I am blown away by all of their singing quality.
Fantastic singers. Aren't they brilliant? In particular, Uhura
Uhura's beautiful voice.
and Singh. Those two
Really surprised by
are
Liana.
fantastic.
Liana.
They're just absolutely brilliant. And I've listened to the soundtrack so many times now on Spotify.
And Spock.
Spock's brilliant. I'm the X.
I
What a
was
great
so
song.
no, but that very first one when he's checking,
Apologies.
I was not expecting
Yeah.
it. And then,
It's just, oh, God.
as gorgeous as Pike is, I wasn't expecting him to have a singing voice. But
Yeah,
damn
he's
it,
got one.
he's got the looks and he's got the
Yeah.
voice.
I even like, especially when it's spread and everyone starts, because there's a subspace normally, and then there's something happens, blah blah blah, and everyone starts singing, and it's not just the ship, it's an everyone.
Yeah.
And then and then Uhura just makes a comment of like she spoke to the general, and he's really pissed off, and she goes, and he did it in a really nice baritone. She's like, just makes a comment about it.
But I
So
still
no, she
love
goes,
the
it's a
bit
really beautiful baritone.
when I found the pattern. We need to get to this number.
Yeah.
And I just love it. They're getting closer and closer. And then the Klingons are hailing Captain. And it's just Pike's look at her and go on then.
Yeah.
And then boom, you get this.
Let us
the
start
Klingons
dancing and rapping, and it's brilliant. Like auto tune. Oh, it's so funny. It's just in hysterics.
really-
I tried to get some photos of genuine photos of me, but they just came out a bit creepy. I just put my phone onto selfie mode and just watched it, and every now and again I just took a picture. I had the biggest grin on my face. I had it a whole way through.
It will absolutely.
I've listened to the soundtrack nearly every day since.
It's brilliant. I don't think I can say much else about it because it is a musical episode. If you don't like musicals, still give it a chance because it's still a whole lot of Star Trek.
And it does tie up a few loose ends
It does.
of stuff, particularly the Sing stuff kind of ties up that little arc with Kirk.
Yes, yep, you've got the whole Kirk and Lan and helping her progress what she wants in the future and how she feels and allows her to actually move herself forward, which she wouldn't normally be able to do or would allow herself to do. I mean, the whole premise is, anyway, that once they've triggered this subspace anomaly with music, which has then made everyone sing, everyone is singing the truth. So yeah, you've got Pike basically saying, I lie so I don't have to go on holiday with you.
Yeah.
Lan never lets herself be vulnerable, but she lets herself be vulnerable with Kirk.
Yeah.
Spock is worried everything is going wrong and what's he doing wrong. Chapel is, I'm just glad to be out of here because everything is just
It's less complicated
if I'm not here. It's a really clever episode.
Uhura's on her own all the time, and she's got to learn to not be on her own.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a really clever episode. And I think, I'm probably going to watch it tomorrow, actually. Now we've spoken about it again, I want to watch it
and
again.
again, with poor Spock, his solo is about him being dumped.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
It's
I'm the ex. That's where he comes to the realization that actually she's moved on from me. I need to accept that actually. Well, this is Boimler's turning point for him. This is what Boimler's done to him. This is the moment he's saying in his song, I opened myself up to somebody. They are leaving me.
Yep.
They've grown past me, leaving me, whatever. It must have been something I'd done. I need to reset myself and start again. And I think we're going to see next season, he's going to draw in on himself.
I think so. I think we're going to start getting more of the Spock that we would have had from the original series, which is much more, I'm going to basically concentrate on being a Vulcan and try and be as Vulcan as I can rather than giving in to my human feelings, my human side.
Yep.
But then, okay, that brings us on to hegemony. I know I've got problems with this.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good episode.
Mm-hmm.
Scotty turns up.
Yeah.
Was not expecting that.
Young Scotty, very young Scotty.
2-part episode, though. With a
Yeah.
God knows how long wait till
With
we
a
get part
actual
2.
to be continued. 2024, end of 2024.
You see, that's way too long for something like that. I know they had to because it would have been a stupidly long episode, but...
Well, it could be worse. When I looked at online, it said end of 2024, early 25.
Yeah, you see, I just think that's
It's
way too long.
yeah.
But the whole idea of it is a brilliant episode. The Gorn basically take what they want.
And we finally see an adult Gorn.
We see an adult Gorn. It's not as good as the original series Gorn in his lovely latex suit
Yeah.
with Kirk beating him with
It's a
homemade
proper-
gunpowder.
It's a Skyrim lizard man.
It's really good.
And
It's
it's
a
so
really
cool.
good design. It looks creepy. It looks violent. It's exactly what you'd expect the Gorn to look like based on what we've been told in the series so far.
Yeah.
Problems with the episode, then, the bits that I didn't like. Spock jumping over to the Enterprise to stick the rockets on, not the Enterprise, onto the Farragut. That's the Star Trek I was watching today. Whichever the ship was, I can't remember what it was
Why
called.
was he the only one who could do it?
Not sure. I think it's just to do with that his body would put up with this stress better than anyone else's. Because the one long-term thing is Vulcans' bodies are meant to be able to withstand more. They're meant to be stronger, better physically, everything like that. Fine. I understand that one. Oh, we're just going to have a quick look. Oh, look, Chapel's alive. Brilliant. I'll save her. Don't check around just in case any other fucking survivors there. Oh, no, my bird's there. So, I hate that when shows do that. If she survived, there are other survivors on that ship. But we rescue them, we trigger the rockets, and we send them all to their fiery death, blowing up the Gorn.
Thing is, because he's
pillar.
got to work on logic. So even when he's got all his human stuff going, he still goes on logic. So is the logic, she's here, I have to do this now, that this is a bonus. Logic says I have to launch these rockets no matter what, just because you're here, that was lucky.
However,
Or is logic,
it's got
she's alive, there could
but that's
be
not
more.
logic. So it's not logic. He doesn't know she's alive. And we get that
No, but when he
point when
sees her, I mean.
Una says, zoom in on the ship. Medibay is gone.
Yeah,
She's dead, Spock, basically.
yeah.
Trying to hammer it home to him. So there is no logic in him going over there hoping she's alive. So
No.
he isn't acting on logic at that point. Yes, he's acting on logic that I've got to be the one to go over there and put the rockets on the ship.
I mean when he's on the ship at the point of seeing her, does the logic then say to him, logically you've survived?
Yeah, but
so
that's
logically somebody else could be, I need to look
But that's
before
what it
I
should
set these
be.
rockets off. But what I'm saying, the caveat to that is, are they on a time limit where they have to launch these rockets at a particular time because of the position the ship is in?
Well-
and he goes, I have to make the decision now.
Yes and no.
You
because-
might have been found, but that's just luck.
No, I don't agree because the ship we know is basically in the debris field.
Yeah.
And what they're saying is we can give it a gentle nudge, and with the rockets, we can make that gentle nudge look like the ship is going into a deteriorated orbit and going to crash into the land. But what we'll do is we'll actually be remote controlling it and guiding it to where we want.
Mm-hmm.
So they could have triggered those rockets at any point because basically that ship is stationary in that debris field. It's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
It's only going to go into a degraded orbit because
Well-
they've stuck the rockets on it.
Were they in what's the orbit where you don't move?
Geostationary.
Yeah, is it a geostationary orbit or is the world spinning off
but
of it? Because there
either
would be a
way-
window.
Yeah, but either way, they've still got the rockets on it to give it the nudge.
But the point was they didn't want the Gorn to know they were doing it. So there's a window where they have to make it look.
No, but I would have said... Again, it's a story, isn't it? But
It's Star Trek. It's all
if it was me, my God, you're alive. You're the love of my life. I get to put my Vulcan dick in you later. Brilliant. But you're alive. So really, we should have a quick run around and make sure there's
While we're
no one
here,
else.
Absolutely agree.
Exactly. Tricorder. Take one with you. Yes, there's some life signs.
Let's
Brilliant.
go.
We better get them as soon as we can, if we can.
Yeah.
No, we just send them to their fiery death.
Yeah.
That's the bit I didn't like about that. Otherwise, it's brilliant. You got Scotty doing exactly what Scotty has done in the original series movies, TNG when he turns up. He's doing batshit crazy things that get him where he is in the Enterprise later in life. He does what you expect of Scotty, which is he creates things and he does miracles.
Yeah. I like how that really old, their chief engineer at the moment, that woman's like, he's like my best student who only ever got a D.
Yeah.
She says something stupid like that.
My best student who got the worst grades.
Yeah.
And we hadn't even talked about, I love her as an actress. Whatever she turns up in, she is always brilliant.
She's not utilised enough, I don't
She
think.
was in The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, which was a genius Netflix series. She's been in all sorts. And yeah, you're right. She does not get utilised enough in this series. And I'm guessing she's gone because now Scotty's there. Let's face it, the next series is going to be...
Hopefully they don't kill her off unless she
I don't
gets
think they'll kill
killed
her.
off
I
in this.
think she'll just be,
leave.
I'm 300 or 400 years, however many hundred
I've
years
had
old
enough.
I am.
Yeah.
It's time for me to go and do something new now. Because basically she only turns up on the Enterprise, doesn't she? Because this is the place I need to be now. Which is kind of an ongoing thing for this series, if you noticed. It's always, this is the place I'm meant to be at this point. Pike has it a lot. Spock has it a lot. And I think that's what they're kind of trying to point out is it's adding into, although they're not continuing as much going on about Pike's going to die at some point, they're still kind of subconsciously almost saying, you're meant to be here.
Yeah. I've just come to a realisation now, I kind of fucked it in my head, thinking, how come that woman didn't acknowledge I call her the Sing Lady because I don't remember her full name, when she come back from the past, because she set her on the path.
Larn, yeah.
But it's an alternate past, so this one wouldn't know Larn.
Exactly.
It's just coincidentally. Larn has obviously gone back and gone to her because she knows her as being an engineer, but that version of her never did it.
Or had she not done it at that point?
But it's a different past, though, isn't it?
Yeah, but don't forget, that was...
No, it's a joint past.
It's a joint past.
Oh, so I was right in my
she
confusion.
She hadn't done engineering yet.
Yeah, so she doesn't acknowledge it, does she,
potentially-
when she comes back?
I can't remember. I think there's some sort of kind of cheeky exchange maybe, but I'm not sure. But ultimately, you could say Larn is the one that puts her onto the route of, well, I don't want to do the antique shop
be
anymore. What
engineer,
shall I do now? I'll do engineering.
Yeah, quite right.
But again, really clever idea, that one. And they did time travel really well. It wasn't stupid, timey-wimey stuff.
Yeah.
It felt good. It felt real. It felt a solid idea that they were doing.
It's how I think time travel would work.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think you're right there. I quite like the temporal police basically turning up at the end saying, "Thank you for doing what you did. Now don't tell anyone."
Is that not Wesley Slot? Isn't that who he joins?
Is it? I don't know.
Because the guys that he joins are like time travel guys.
The Travellers, yeah. I don't
And that's
know.
kind of when she started talking. I kind of wished they actually had just put Wesley there. How cool would that have been if she just opened her eyes? Because we'd all know who he was. She wouldn't have a clue because he's from the far, far future.
True.
And he'd just be like, "Hi, don't talk about this." We'd all know because we know he's a traveller. We know all the things.
But don't forget, the woman that turns up is
Is a
from
Starfleet.
Starfleet.
Yeah.
She's Starfleet in the future.
Yeah.
So that could well be Starfleet, as in Discovery's Starfleet in the future, where they've ended up.
So it's more future for than Discovery because they're not doing time travel other than accidentally going into the future.
Oh, is that still all accidental at that point? Fine, okay.
It's accidental the whole time, pretty much. Well, accidental,
Well,
kind of meant
except
to do
for
it,
this
kind of, you know what I
potential
mean?
future
A
person.
one-off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I forget you haven't
that's
seen that last
interesting.
season
No,
of
that's
Discovery.
it's interesting then. That's how they're still going, and I like it being accidental or accidentally on purpose.
Well, there's
because-
another series yet, so time travel stuff might come back into it. I don't know. I always liked the idea of them being able to go back. But I don't think that will happen.
That's why I do wonder if that's how Discovery will end, with them going back. Just like I've always said about Discovery, you cannot just suddenly say technology that we had was super secret and we've just forgotten about it, or we don't use it anymore because of X, Y, Z.
I do want to go back and watch Discovery, what's got the stuff with Pike, just to remind myself exactly what was going on. Oh, and another little cute thing with Pike, I don't know if it was in the season 1, because I've started watching them again, it's confusing me. Someone mentions about him not having a moustache and he'd look really good with a moustache. Oh,
Yeah.
that's it. It's when he sees Kirk.
Yes.
And he's got a moustache, and he's like, "You look good in a moustache." And he goes, "I think you'd look quite good in a moustache." He's like, and I guess that's a nod to the films where Pike's character has a moustache. Is it just like a jokey nod? You know, the remake films.
Oh, does he have a
Chris
moustache in
Pine,
that?
Pike's has a moustache. The actor who plays Pike has a
Oh.
moustache.
I've never noticed.
I'm pretty sure he does.
Accessing library computer data.
So what are your thoughts on the modern films?
I like them, but I only like them because they are their own universe.
That's where I am with them. I enjoy them. I don't count them as canon.
Have I
But
watched
they
any of them
don't-
more than once? No.
Oh, I've watched them 2 or 3 times, all of them through. I didn't like out of all of them, Into the Darkness was the one that I thought was the most disappointing, because as much as the idea of basically taking the Wrath of Khan and reversing the roles, so making it Kirk who dies rather than Spock and blah blah blah, it just didn't work for me. But the first film and whatever the third one was called,
I don't remember.
I can't remember, but they were fun. I enjoyed them. Idris Elba in the third one.
I enjoyed
Idris
watching
Elba.
them. Idris, I'd say.
Yeah, well,
I liked them all, and yeah, I'd watch them all again. I just never bothered watching them again. But I didn't dislike them. But I was happy that they were their own thing.
yes, I'm glad they didn't try. I know, again, the second one, they had Spock, as in Leonard Nimoy before he died. But even then, it's I'm from a different universe,
Yeah, that's why he's hiding, isn't it?
which is what I like.
Yeah.
That was a nice way of doing it. So, yeah, swings and roundabouts, I guess, with that. I don't think it deserves the hate they get. I think
absolutely not.
they're like Rogue One and Star Wars.
I don't know if anybody dislikes Rogue One. Rogue One is a fantastic film.
My point is, it's Star Trek for a different generation and different set of people. Star Wars for a different set of people and a different generation. Well, we've said it before, haven't we? It's made for different people.
Yeah.
And those 3 films were made for a generation of people that may not have ever watched actual Star Trek.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
that could be what their Star Trek is, though.
That's their original series.
Yeah, exactly. That is their Star Trek. Whereas mine is TNG and yours is Voyager.
Yeah.
And very fast becoming Strange New Worlds, actually, I would
Yeah.
say. It's rapidly moving up the list.
Do you think that's because it's just modern and we're into it now? Do you think in 10 years' time, when you or I are still doing a Star Trek podcast, that we'll still be looking at these Strange New Worlds series in the same light?
It's interesting you say that, because I will still go back and watch TNG over and over again. I wouldn't do that with Strange New Worlds. I will go back and rewatch them, but I wouldn't watch them as much as I do TNG.
Because it's nostalgia, or because you actually think it's better?
A little bit of A, a little bit of B. TNG is a nice safe space. It's what I grew up with. I enjoy the characters. Strange New World, if I'm honest, is much better than TNG.
Yeah.
In many, many ways, it's much better. It's better stories, but it doesn't have some of the innocence and the originality that TNG kind of had. It's
All I'd say about it,
A and B, yeah, a little
with
bit of
doing
both.
these past ones, is it takes a large element of the fear out of it, because we know because we know they're in universe now. It's
Yes.
been put in that this is not any kind of an alternate timeline, so we know Uhura. Oh, sorry, I keep hitting it. Uhura, Pike, Spock, Scotty. They are not going to die in any situation they get into at any point in time.
Yes, we know that.
We know. So anything that involves them, there's no fear. That's all. So they can't be. I'm trying to think of the right word that I'm supposed to be using here, but they can't be put in any situation that I'm worried about their well-being. Other characters, absolutely. You know, I don't ever like saying I have a favourite character because they normally die as soon as I say it. But that pilot, we know who she is. Got a clue who she is. Both doctors, Chapel and Omega.
Chapel was into TOS.
Oh, was she? Okay. Yeah. So then, well, there you go. She's safe. Whereas we know that then again, the main doctor and the pilot, two of my favourite characters.
Well,
don't know.
Lan,
Number
Looney,
one,
and
Singh again. So the number one and Singh. Oh no, number one according to Lower Decks. We know
she survives.
She survives. So we've got just Singh and the pilot. And notice how Boimler didn't interact with either of those characters.
That's very true. Yes.
Well, that might have just been chance, you know. But sorry, I keep hitting it.
It's actually caused it to go fizzy now as well.
Oh,
Can you
sorry.
just give it a? There we go. That's better.
Better. Sorry.
No, that's okay. I guarantee no one will have heard that because the editing. But
Yeah.
I think I need to look at the connection on that mic now.
I think this needs to be pulled up here. That's what I keep because I'm hitting it over here. Yeah. So that's the only thing I'd say about it. And also because of they've engaged with it so much in series 1 about what happens to Pike.
Yes.
I feel like it's just
it's run its course.
It's running over their head.
We kind of
and
know,
all it's done is put a timeline on the series, which I don't like.
Because we know that's going to happen.
Yeah.
TOS has determined that's going to happen. We know he ends up in a wheelchair that can only beep with a red flashing light. That's going to happen to Pike, and then he's going to end up on the planet and be happy.
Which seems very odd to me, though, that what happens to him that he, with all of that future technology, they can't cure him. And what happens when he goes on a plate and gets happy? Goes on a planet plate.
There's it's a TOS era episode. I can't tell you what the aliens are. They've all got big bulbous heads, and basically they can give him a life where they can use their telekinetic and their brain power to basically bring him back to normal. He's still just going to be sat there in the wheelchair, but
in his mind,
and what everyone else will see is the illusion that he's completely healthy, he's back to normal.
So
and
he's still moving around in the chair, but everyone will see him standing.
I don't know, really. That's too deep a dive for it. But basically, there's a woman on this planet as well that he wants to go back to, who they have done the same thing for. So,
right. Okay.
There is a lot more. Maybe we should watch that episode.
I'd like to, yeah, because I don't really know much about it.
I believe it's TOS The Cage. It was meant to be the pilot episode, and instead they decided to go with a different episode, and that became like episode 4 or 5 later on.
Isn't Pike the captain in the pilot episode of?
Series? So it's awkward. Basically, what they did is the pilot got cut into clips, and they used the clips in the episode.
Right. Okay.
It's basically a legal episode.
Oh, okay.
Spock is basically being court-martialed for stealing the Enterprise again. And it's to get Pike back to this planet, which has been previously said no one is allowed to go there anymore.
Right.
The nice thing, I guess, is, though, they've never put a formal date on it. So you could do another 20 series of Strange New Things if you want and never get there.
He says about a decade, he says.
Yeah, well, 10 years is a long time.
Yeah, that's
for series-wise.
Yeah, so he said. So if you think a series is a year, that's 10 seasons. They won't go 10 seasons. None of these things nowadays do.
No.
I'd be surprised if it did more than 3. I'd love it to do 10 seasons, but nowadays they do 3, don't they? And they're done.
Yeah, I'd like it to get to about 7. I think there's a rule online somewhere that says 7 series is the golden point, because after series 7 it always goes downhill.
Is that the jump the shark moment of Happy Days? Is that why they're saying it?
I don't know if it falls down to just Happy Days as well, but a lot of Trek is. I think TNG's only 7 series, but there is. I dig it out at some point, but I'm sure there's something saying that 7 series should be the limit on any show, because after the 7th one, you have run out of ideas and it will go
It's
wrong.
run its course. Yeah, you just
It's run its course. People have got older, and you can't forever make people stay young.
Yeah. Or they'll fuck out like Game of Thrones.
Well, exactly. Did the dragons ever come?
Did you not finish it?
I never watched it.
Oh yeah, no, they fucked it up.
Nice.
Yeah. And with that Game of Thrones bombshell.
Command functions are offline.
It's a lot, everybody. I hope you enjoyed your first Trek talk, whatever we're going to call this. Trek talk seems a bit close to trash talk for me, so I get a bit...
Talk Trek?
Yeah, talk Trek. You know, the Killer Rabbit guys have got that trash talk. Have you listened to their new ones? Because I've binged them for the last few days, and they've got that trash talk. I love it. I think it's hilarious.
The Channel 84 variety show, Data's Brain.
Is that what this is? No, I do quite like the idea of a long-winded, ridiculous thing. I really love that, the game knockout one. I really do. I'll think of something. But for now, we'll just call it Trek Talk. It'll probably end up staying Trek Talk. Maybe I'll just get the KRP guys to give us an intro. It'd just be them going, Trek Talk.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll ask them.
Right, well, you can find us on channel84.co.uk. You can email us on podcasts@channel84.co.uk, tj@channel84.co.uk, or rob@channel84.co.uk. Social media-wise, you can find us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, Threads, all on underscore channel84 or @flatrob. That's pretty much everything. Cheerio, goodbye, beam me up, Scotty.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Channel 84 Variety Show. This station is now shutting down and will be back in 2 weeks. Excelsior.